Hi, this is Paul Castiglia, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio, the one-stop shop for all your pop culture needs.
Hi, everybody. Dwight Weems from Gazze the Fun Band, and you're watching and listening to Fowl Players Radio.
Hi, this is Bud Becker, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio.
And folks, welcome back to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. My name is Michael Spedden. If you're listening to us right now, you're probably listening to us on our website, www.fowlplayersradio.com, or on one of the many platforms that we're available on: Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it, we're out there. Make sure you give us a nice fair review and a nice 5-star rating. We would definitely appreciate that. If you're looking at me right now, you're probably watching us on our YouTube channel, and you've noticed that I have the perfect face for radio. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like our episodes and pass them around and share them with your friends. We're going to have a lot of fun this summer. We have a couple more episodes coming up, and we're going to take a quick break for summer vacation and be back in September. So make sure you stick around and keep your eyes open. Meanwhile, go back through our archives. We've had a lot of great interviews this season, and I think you'd really enjoy those as well. Please welcome to the show Dwight Weems. If you're from Baltimore and you've been to a wedding, a bull roast, a corporate gala, or even been to the Dundalk Heritage Fair, I'm sure one of those times you've seen Dwight and his band Gazze. Gazze is celebrating 50 years of making music. And we had a great time talking about the hundreds of weddings and events that he's performed at over the years, as well as his time working at WBFF Channel 45 in Baltimore. He was one of the folks like George Lewis, who was there from the beginning. And he came in there while he was just a young man right out of school and started working there, building the station, and ended up producing and directing Captain Chesapeake, Ghost Host, and many of the classic Baltimore commercials, especially the granddaddy of them all, Mr. Ray's Hair Weave. We also discussed growing up in Dundalk and having family working down the point. We talked about Dundalk music and his Mercy, Mercy Me commercial for Baltimore's Mercy Hospital. We had a lot of fun. The Fowl Players of Perryville will be returning to the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad on September 10th, October 8th, and October 29th. We have a new room, the Fifth Company Brewing, on October 21st, November 12th, and December 10th. Details are forthcoming on those shows. That's a brand new venue for us. They just opened up here in Perryville. The Fowl Players of Perryville are finally getting a chance to perform in Perryville, and it's great. For more information, please go to www.fowlplayersofperryville.com, and we hope to see you at one of these shows. We will be right back after these messages. Stick around for Dwight Weems.
This is A.D. Adams, and you are tuned in to Fowl Players Radio with your host, Michael Spedden.
Yeah, hi, this is David Simmons from DC Star, and I am just encouraging all of you to tune in to Michael Spedden's show on Fowl Players Radio and love the rock and roll of the past and the art of the future.
Hello, this is John Piet,
Kevin Schmidt,
and Jerry Bozick.
And we're August, a little band from Virginia. You can hear our story, other stories from the legendary Baltimore, D.C. music scene, and much, much more with Michael Spedden on Fowl Players Radio. You can find it at www.fowlplayersradio.com, on YouTube, and wherever you find podcasts online. Keep rocking.
So, folks, welcome back to Fowl Players Radio. Tonight, I've got the pleasure of having another Dundalk guy on here tonight. We just recently had Johnny Lang, the filmmaker, and I've had a number of people, from the old neighborhood. And Dwight Weems is with us tonight here. Dwight, you may know him, from lots of different things. Mainly the lead singer from Gazze, who we've seen around. How many years is this now for Gazze?
It's year 50.
50 years.
Yeah.
What is that? The golden anniversary, or is that?
I think you get a plate.
You get a plate, or you get 2 golden eggs, right? Very good. 50 years of Gazze, and I think I've been seeing you for probably about 40 of them around here.
You're the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. I guess you missed me when I'm not there, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
And Dwight, was also around, helped build WBFF TV back in the beginning, the very beginning. A young man fresh out of Dundalk High School and in electronics school was
Go green
part,
and gold.
yeah, green and gold, the Dundalk Owls.
Hear all us
Absolutely.
Dundalkers yell.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here's the Dundalk High, and I've had quite a few Dundalk High grads on as well, So welcome, Dwight. I've been looking forward to talking to you here. So welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Looking forward to talking to you as well.
Well, great. So God, what to ask? So much, so much that you've done here. Gazze, you mentioned, we're just saying 50 years of Gazze.
Yeah.
You've got to have some great memories of that, tell us about this.
Actually, I've forgotten them all. No, just kidding.
That's because of the 50 years you've been doing
Over
it.
the 50 years,
why.
I've forgotten half of them. No, I mean, it's an amazing run and an amazing story. And, the local music scene in Baltimore and around Maryland has always been strong. I mean, you go back to the day when the full-time musicians were playing 5 nights a week in clubs, and we had so many great bands and great musicians playing all the wonderful music of the time, we all grew up in. And you could go and see 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 live bands, some of them with 5 singers and 3, 4, or 5 horns and things like that. None of them made any money, but they were all having fun and would all play some great music, and people were dancing and just having a good old time. So we started back in that heyday. We were modeled after, Chicago, like everybody that had horns.
Yeah.
Was one of the people that everybody kind of gravitated to because of their style and their sound and their power. And so we said we wanted to have that kind of power in our band. And for the 50 years that we've been performing, we've always had horns, and we never, knocked them out because to make a price point or to, just to get into a smaller area or whatever. So we've been blessed to be able to be supported and to be able to play the music the way that we think it should be live, with as much instrumentation as you can cram into it that's live. And give you the sound, whether you're doing Motown, whether you're doing Bruno Mars, whether you're doing Sinatra, it doesn't matter. We want to give it to you and bring it to you with a lot of energy.
Yeah. Well, you sure do. And I can tell you that from having seen you quite a few times over the years. I mean, probably more times than I remember. Maybe I'm getting up there too. But some of the things that I was really impressed with is just how you guys were always just such a solid unit, for having played together for so long. Always loved the horns. Everybody in the band was just a great player. Everybody in the band was just a great player. And the one thing that really impressed me, I have to say about you, was I think one of the earlier times that I had seen you, you did Open Arms Journey and you nailed it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this guy's got some pipes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I still love that tune today. There's a lot of stuff like that, those kind of songs that allow you to, as a vocalist, to open up and to really, use and hold on to your range if you can, as you get older. But there's a lot of great, we've been, over the years, I've been exposed to so many wonderful, types of music, which makes it still fun for us because we're not, like a lot of tribute bands and things like that. You'll learn like 10, 15 songs, you play them forever.
Right.
But we are a variety band, and we're constantly learning new material for the people we perform for, as well as playing the old material and the old hits and things like that. But we cross so many genres. We'll do rock, we'll do pop, we'll do hip hop, we'll do big band. Michael Bublé. So as a vocalist, it really, really gives me so much. Country. I mean, we did La Fleur de Lune in French once, and we did Pavarotti, a song by Pavarotti once, because somebody wanted it for an event we were doing. So that kind of variety is just so exciting to be able to do as a vocalist and have it delivered to people that actually want to hear it.
That's true. And that's another thing too, was that with you guys doing the variety and the things that you did, when I was growing up, I'm an old headbanger, and my parents that used to drive them up the wall, but Gazze was the one band we could all sit down and watch at the Heritage Fair and agree on that we were all having a good time.
Yeah. That's kind of what we've, it's interesting because 2 of my favorite entertainers, have a lot of great singers who I enjoy, But as far as entertainers, actually there's probably like 3 in that list right now. But early on, it was Sammy Davis Jr. because he was such an entertainer and a showman. He played drums,
Yes.
he sang, he did everything. And did comedy, skits and things like that. And of course, he had buddies like Frank Sinatra. So how could that be bad? And then Prince, another one of my artists who are just an incredible artist who left us too soon, and again was such a great musician, a great showman, a great entertainer, and such energy and in everything that he did, and Mick Jagger.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you put all those people together and you just watch them and study them like I have over the years, and I continue to study, especially Mick, because the guy's 79 years old.
Yeah.
He's incredible. He's incredible. And he brings it every night and every show. And that attitude behind, that kind of delivery of music, and the fact that you really, really, really are working really, really hard for the people who come to see you. He could sing those songs and stand there at the microphone, and those songs would sound exactly the same.
They
his
will.
Energy and his motion and his emotion that he puts into it, and the fact that he's actually, at least he looks like he's still having fun, even if he isn't.
Right,
so
right.
That helps to sell the whole persona of everything that they do, and that's what I try to do whenever I step out on stage. So.
Oh yeah. And for what I've seen, again, all the times I've seen you really do, and having played in bands myself, most of the bands that I was in, we were doing original material, so it was a whole different world. We were going out, and instead of doing a whole evening or a whole event, we were probably one of 3 or 4 bands playing the club that night. We'd do our hour of our own stuff and then go. But I can remember, when we were doing covers, as we were building our list, we would have covers in there and kind of eliminate one when we'd write another one. And there were times when, you maybe a cover song that you're doing, you're just kind of like, not this song again. But whether you feel that way or not, you can't let the audience see that.
Yeah.
You've got to get out there with that audience. You got to be out there with the same energy. And even in doing live performance and, improv comedy and theater, you've got to give that audience, whether you've got 3 people out there or 100 or 1,000, you got to show that enthusiasm and give them the energy and give them the show they deserve.
Yeah, until the last person standing. That's the way we hit them. We come at you hard, and and we let you know that we're here to entertain you, and we're trying to get you in a place that you don't get to too often, anymore, unless you spend $500 to, I don't know what ticket price to win for McCartney, but maybe $1,000, $1,500 a ticket. You expect explosions and a lot of lights, and as well as great music.
Yeah.
But and in what we do, we like to make sure that energy is a big portion of it, because it really, really can help to motivate people into the mood of where you want them to be.
Sure. Now, what came to you in life to make you decide you wanted to be a performer?
It's interesting. I started with my brother, who had a 5-person doo-wop group. Back when I was growing up, they used to always sing at the house. They were singing the Temptations and stuff like that there. And I used to watch them and listen to them all the time. And then one point in time, my parents ordered from Sears a drum set. And it came in a box. It was crazy. I was a little kid. A box of drums. You can imagine. And I beat the heck out of those things. And then I listened to James Brown's drummer, and I learned a little fatback. And then one time their drummer wasn't available to play a job. And they said, and my brother said, "Hey, my brother can play," talking about me. He said, "Okay, well, can you play?" I said, "Sure, come on, bring him along." So I sat in one night and just played. I knew all the songs. I mean, the Temptations, you know the Temptation song, Four Tops, they're all the same. And I sat in with him that night. And from that time, that moment on, I went, you know what? This is invigorating to me. This is this is my golf. This is my tennis. This is my going to the ball games with the guys. All that wrapped up into one in music, and I get to entertain people, and people enjoy themselves and appreciate what I bring. So the first band that I was in, Bob Rosa and I started Gazze, and also Don Berger started Gazze back in '72. And but before that, Bob and I were in other bands. We were 15 and we started playing together in bands. And big bands back then, 8, 9, 10 people, playing music back there in the '70s. And then we started Gazze, and for some reason, it was one of those kind of units, I'll use Chicago as another example, that weather the storm. And the music business is, as you know, is music and business.
Yes, it is.
And
yes.
The business side of it is the hardest part of it. Once you have your musical chops up, it's the business that's the hardest part. How do you keep it running as a business? How do you keep people in the band? How do you keep the trucks rolling? How do you pay for the bills, all the stuff you got to do to make everything happen? But in this particular band, we developed such a strong bond that it was hard to break. We didn't have some of the egos that happen in other bands where people are so good that they want to rise above the fray, and that's okay if that's what you want to do, But all of us enjoyed the music that we were playing and were in the direction that we were heading in, and it allowed us to keep the business side of it going. Because over the years, we had to replace some people because, like Bob had to leave only because he was working for IBM at the time and was flying to London. So he couldn't get back in time for the jobs.
Yeah.
He had to resign. But so we had to replace him. We replaced him with Dave. And so we've only had 2 guitar players in 50 years.
Right.
We've had 2 drummers in 50 years. We've had 2 bass players in 50 years. We've had several young ladies that have gone through different changes in life, and they've been with us. Then they had to leave because they had kids, and then we bring new people in. But again, we have a good core of people that understand the mission and understand that it's not about us; it's all about them, and them having a good time is why we're here, and the only reason why we're here.
I think I had read on your website that you had done, and I can't remember the numbers, but they were huge numbers. How many weddings that you've done in so many states and other events? Do you know those numbers off the top of your head?
Over 900 weddings in 8 states.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's amazing when you think about it. But we had to do that we had to move into the private sector out of reality. Because as you well know, the music business, which is ever changing, went through a massive change that put music stores out of business, put bands and musicians out of business. It took, you went from the cover charge to the tip bucket, for people to try and make money. And for what we were doing, we said, in order for us to survive, we have to find people who understand the kind of music that we put out, the energy that we put out, the professionalism that we deliver. And we have to find those people. And those people, hopefully will have the funds to be able to pay us what we think we're worth for doing this as long as we have been doing it, and the experience and the knowledge. And then, people have put us on planes and flew us out to places, and we've been on rock tour buses like we're rock stars, and gone overnighters, and people putting us up in hotels. It's crazy, some of the stories that I could tell you. And we're not braggadocious about it. It's just we've just been blessed to be able to have people understand and support our ability to keep this music going. Because right now, you'll see one person and you'll call them a band. 2 people, you say it's a band. Well, it's a band, but we're not an orchestra. But when we travel with 13 people right now. So that's 13 vehicles coming somewhere at you. $100,000 worth of gear in a truck. And we use what we need to use off of there. But over 3,000 performances and over 900 weddings in 8 states, and we're still rolling.
Wow, that's impressive right there. I've done some traveling myself and been out on the road, and I kind of know how that goes sometimes. That can be hectic in itself. It's a lot to plan. It's
a lot to plan. You're right. Even if you're just going, even a short trip, if you're going to, up to Philly or something, You
Mhm.
still got to plan it out. You got to get people, these days, back in the day, you rent a van, everybody jumps in it and somebody drives,
Oh
but
yeah.
then you're driving back home late at night, and you're tired and everybody else is
Mhm.
asleep,
Yep.
and we said, we can't, that's not the way we can't operate that way anymore. We have to have professional transportation to get us there and get us, if you want us, we need professional transportation to get us there and back safely, because it's more cost effective than us staying there and you're giving us hotel rooms and stuff like that there. So, but yeah, you're right. The road is, can be very, very tricky sometimes, and but it also can be very, very rewarding, because it
Yes.
opens up your market a great deal. Because after a while, everyone who's playing in Baltimore plays the same 8 or 9, 10 places, then it's rinse and repeat. And if you don't change your routine or change the music, you have your steadfast fans, but it's hard to grow.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're in that same circle of loop of people over and over again. So we figured we try and broaden our horizons, because this is a big world that we live in. We just have to figure out how to get the brand out there and let people know that we're here, we're open for business, and we're ready to rock your world.
Yes, very true, very true. I agree with what you're saying and everything there too. And I can remember roughing it on the road years ago, going to New York City,
Yeah.
sleeping in the Ryder truck overnight up there, in the middle of New York City, and getting into the club the next day, playing one night, going to the next club, going in early in the day, basically bathing in the sink in the bathroom, getting ready for the next night,
Yeah.
coming home in the middle. And I tell you, that is in a lot of ways, that is a young man's game right there.
It is. It really is. It really is a young man's
Yeah.
game. And when I say we travel with 13 people, that's the reason why.
Oh
We
yeah,
have a
yeah.
3-person team. Because we go back to the days of when we had to carry Leslie tone cabinets, those wooden tone cabinets for Leslie's, up steps, carrying them up the steps to get them up to the stage.
Yep.
And
My Ampeg
and
SVT
B3.
head.
Yeah. There comes a point in time where you go, I physically can't do that and do the show and do it again, unload that stuff and put it back in the thing. So we're blessed to have talented people that work with us and allow us to focus on what we should be doing, which is the performance.
Exactly. It's some people don't get that. And especially a lot of people give singers a hard time when it comes to loading in and out. A lot of times when people are bringing their gear in and out. But the thing is that, if anybody has to be well rested and not winded and not hoarse and everything else, singers have to be. You can't be all winded and tired out before you got to go out and sing for 4 hours.
Yeah. And that was one of the things too, that when we talked about, as we were making this transition into doing the business the way that we do it currently, was, at the end of the night, if you were the vocalist or one of the front people want to talk to you. And that's a part of the process, is talking to people and greeting them and saying hello and making new friends and making new fans. And while that is going on, other people are wrapping up cables, pushing dollies down the thing. So it could be a source of contention, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Because how come you're not wrapping up the cables? Well, I'm pressing the flesh, talking to the people who hopefully going to come back and see us again.
Yep. That's really an important role that you have there when you're the face of the band. A lot of times, you're the personality. And the thing is, it's like, when you're out there in public as a performer, whether they do or not, really, a lot of times people, especially if they watch you a lot, whether it be on TV or listen to the radio, I've heard the same thing. A lot of people consider you to be a friend, almost
definitely,
without you knowing them really, but they consider you, hey, there's Dwight. All right, man. Hey, bud. You may not know them from Adam, but they know you because they've been to see Gazze a bunch of times, or they've used your band, or had you or something,
More times than I can imagine that happens. It happens. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
People come up to you like you were saying, like they're they know you. So and they approach you in a way that they do know you.
Right.
And how you react to that, is very important. Because you kind of opened your life to them. So, and you do want to share, some of the stories and the things like that and the moments that we create together, because we are creating this magic together. You know, we
Right.
can't create the magic without the people being in the room. If the people aren't in the room, then we're just playing songs. The magic happens when we play the songs and people react to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then other people see them reacting to it and they go, well, how come they're having so much fun and I'm just kind of sitting here? Maybe I should get out there and have some fun too.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
everybody starts to interact. Everybody starts to have a good time. And at the end of the night, they go, man, I never haven't had a good time like that in years.
Yeah. 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 I wanted to ask you this too. We had mentioned earlier before we had started our interview, we had a couple of friends in common. David Leone, I've had him as a guest on the show, actually. That guy. He performs, with Gazze, but he does his own thing over at Costas for Jazz Night. And I took lessons at his music store back in the early mid '80s. And he's just been a real pillar of the community over in Dundalk.
Great guy.
I think you guys may have been in school together too, maybe, or around the same time, weren't you?
Yeah, we were around the same time, not the same school together, but we were definitely at the, we were running roughly around the same age together. So but yeah, Dave, we were so blessed that Dave joined. Like I mentioned, we had 2 guitar players in 50 years. When Bob left, we were blessed to have Dave join us, and his talent and his musical prowess and his writing ability.
Oh yeah.
And, just everything about how he plays and was such a compliment to what we do, and we're so honored to have him as part of the team.
Yeah, he's such a great player. I've seen him play a bunch of times, and and I love Dundalk music. It was a shame that it's not there anymore, but I always I'm one of those people who's a small shopper first. I would always check at Dundalk Music to see if they had what I needed before I went to, Guitar Center or something like that. Just because, he did a good job with that store.
He did a great job with that store. But again, that was one of the victims we started talking about this, is how the music business has changed. I mean, it changed so much that his business couldn't survive anymore.
Yeah.
Everything started changing, and it became difficult to some of the other music stores. Gordon Miller Music. Remember Gordon Miller Music back in the day?
Oh yeah, I remember it well.
Great music. So, and then Mars Music came in. Remember that? They tried to make the Costco of music.
Yep.
They had these big superstores with all these instruments in it, but their service was horrible. And everyone and the real musicians said, what is this? How come I can't talk to somebody that's knowledgeable about this pedal that I want to buy? They were just trying to sell stuff.
Right.
But by then, some of the music stores couldn't regroup. So other than the ones that we currently have now in and around the area and in DC, even New York suffered. All the major Sam Ash and some of the other big music stores and things like that in New York. The business just really, really changed, and we think it suffered a great deal as a result of that.
Yep. Another friend we had in common was Marty Kennelly. We lost him a couple of years ago, which was a real shame. But I had known him from his studio, when he was affiliated with Invisible Sound, and we had done some things with the youth in Dundalk. We were on this board of the Baltimore Art and Music Project for a number of years together, and I always thought very well of him too. And then, I know he was working with you all for a long time too.
Yeah, Marty started out, he took over the reins of Dave Nachosky used to be our sound engineer, front of house guy.
Oh, he's great too. Dave, I know him well as well. He was a guest not too long ago too on here.
Yeah, and then when Dave handed the reins over, Marty took over, and then Marty was our front of house engineer. And then when Don Bogert, who's our original keyboard player, passed away, rest his soul, Marty took over the keyboard duties. And trained the tech team, because he still had his technical prowess. He could troubleshoot anything. He could fix anything.
Oh God!
He had so much knowledge of the industry, and thousands of microphones and all kinds of stuff like that he learned back in the day when they really taught sound engineering.
He was just like an encyclopedia.
Indeed.
I mean, he was just just an encyclopedia of, and well, Dave is too, really. The things that he knows, just from doing it all these years. they're just phenomenal guys. Both of them are just, excellent, at what they do. And again, too, and
I'm glad we had them here in Baltimore, quite honestly.
You're
They
right.
really could have been they really could have been anywhere with their knowledge.
Oh yeah, they sure could have. They could have gone to any market they
They
wanted
could have
to.
gone anywhere. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that, and one thing that you just said too that I really agree with was when people, you said, he was a sound engineer for when people learned how to become sound engineers. And there is a big difference, learning it on that older, I guess I don't really want to say primitive equipment that was around years ago, but analog, but learning the business that way. I mean, they really, really learned it well. And I have to say both of them were just absolutely brilliant. I recorded at Invisible Sound with Joe Ronaldo, was our engineer in the band I was in, but other friends of mine have worked with Dave, and everybody loves them. Everybody loves them. And Marty too. Marty was tough in the studio. He could spot anything. I mean, even things nobody would notice. He could spot, a drum and a bass note being like, 1 millisecond off, or, a minute, part of, half of a pitch being out of tune, not even that much. He could hear it.
He had perfect pitch.
Oh God, so he did, didn't he?
He had perfect pitch. I mean,
yeah.
And as far as being a musician, which we didn't really discover because he was a sound engineer with us for so long. And then he started playing keyboards, and we went, this he's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you a funny story about Marty. I think it was a Phantom. Anyway, we were at a performance one guy, and one guy was from New York. And he was like a Broadway singer. And he came up during one of the breaks and said, "Hey, can I sing?" I think the song was Phantom of the Opera or something. And we're looking at each other like, "Well, you don't know Phantom of the Opera."
Sure, Phantom of the Opera. Yeah, we know that one. Yeah, we just played it the other day.
Marty said, "Hey, what key do you want to do it in? And do you want the theatrical version or the Broadway version?"
Wow.
And he played that song, and that guy sang it, and the audience went bananas. And we were just standing there in awe of this guy who had this incredible mind of music and such a master on the keyboard, and self-taught.
Yeah.
Self-taught, and couldn't read a lick of music.
Yeah. There was one guy that I play with now. I play in an acoustic duo with Johnny Trotta, who was in Winter Sun for years, and his brother Bob. You may know them from around the area, and they played with Martin back in the 70s. And they said the same thing. I mean, even back then, he was just this phenomenal, encyclopedia mind, and it was just like there's not you can't stump him. There was just like nothing he didn't know about that.
You better be prepared when you get into a conversation, because he has all the answers before you ask the questions.
No, he sure did. I mean,
I tell you, we miss him. We miss him a great deal. And we've got a great guy with us now, Rick O'Hara, who's right there on the end.
Oh, okay.
He's come in and he's come in and filled the shoes. But Marty was just an amazing. Everything that he did was just so amazing. So.
Right. I mean, just taken way too soon. Taken way too soon.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh.
I wanted to ask you a bit too. One thing that we kind of do for fun, especially when I have musicians on, is kind of talk about Spinal Tap moments. Anything that may have happened during a performance or elsewise. I'm sure in 50 years, hey, they happen to everybody. Have you have any?
We have so many of them. It's incredible, and they all circle back when we get back together. There was the hurricane. I think it was Agnes. I can't remember which one it was. Anyway, we were on the Eastern Shore, and they moved the venue was going to be on the water, and they didn't want to cancel it, and the hurricane was coming in, so they moved it inland. But when it came through, it wiped everything out. But and we ended up sleeping in the hotel in the ballroom on tables. because we had no rooms. Like we're talking about travel, sometimes can be a little dicey. You know, we've had things like that happen. We had a one function where it's interesting because all of us have other careers, you know, other than music.
Oh yeah.
We're not, you know, so we had other things that we can draw from. We had one engagement where we had a major squall came through and it knocked out the power in the place. Well, Al, who's our bass player, he's a master electrician. So he got in his truck and went down to his shop and got generators and powered up the whole party that we were at.
Wow.
We didn't have air conditioning, but they used Bunsen burners to get the food going. And everyone took their jackets off and ties. And it's one of those kind of things that you go, you can't make this up, man. You just can't make this up. But that's the kind of dedication that we have to try and we got to keep this party going, man. We're not going to give up. We're just going to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. So those are a few, but there's a lot more, believe me.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like, you know, sometimes whenever it counts, whatever can go wrong will go wrong, you know, and I've had
old Murphy's Law. Yeah.
Yep. I've had some folks tell me, you know, some real doozies over the years. And, a couple of years ago, you did a commercial, that we saw you in, Mercy Hospital. What was that experience like?
Well, you know, it was fun. It was, you know, I worked with, oh gosh, what can I think of his name? I had a studio in town. He moved to Florida. Oh, he's going to be embarrassed if he sees this, that I forgot his name. Anyway, I got a phone call from, they said, hey, we're working on this concept for Mercy Hospital. And we bought the license and the rights to use, you know, Marvin Gaye, whoa, oh, mercy, mercy me. You know, and they said, hey, would you come in and we're going to re-lyric it a little bit. And could you come in and sing it? I said, I'll come in and sing it, but if you don't like it, believe me, just you know, just say thanks, you know, and bring somebody else in. and then they liked it and they said, hey, now we're going to shoot this commercial. How'd you like to be in the commercial? And I went, well, once again, I'll do it, but if you don't like it, you know, just bring somebody else in. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But anyway, it ended up being the spot, and they ran it. And it was for opening of the different part of the Mercy Hospital renovation that they went to a different part of the hospital. It was fun. It was very, very fun. Enjoyable.
You did a hell of a job on that. Thank you. I mean, not only the singing was excellent as always, but that Gazze fun personality came right out that, you know, that I've seen so many times over the years. I mean, I couldn't have cast a better, you know, I couldn't have cast that commercial any better than they did, is my opinion, you know.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was fun, and we had a great time shooting it. I'll tell you a quick little story about that.
Sure.
It was the aerial shots back then. There were no drones, so if you want an aerial shot, you had to use helicopters. Well, the turbulence was so bad that day that they had the videographer who was shooting it lost it up in the helicopter because the turbulence was so bad that day as we were trying to film those aerial shots flying around the city. But
wow,
it was crazy.
Oh, I bet. So, another thing I wanted to ask you about here, you know, besides, you know, all the great things you've done in Gazze over the years, something else that's kind of interesting to me, since I'm kind of almost, you know, like a historian and old TV buff, and one of my favorite channels ever, and one of the things I just absolutely loved growing up, you know, I spent my childhood basically watching, was Channel 45 WBFF. And, you know, Dwight, you were there from the beginning. Tell us about that experience. I mean, I had seen that you were a big part of that station because you were in the documentary that was out about Captain Chesapeake and WBFF. Yeah. Tell us.
Well, you know, that's an interesting thought. My kids, I told my kids, I said, I've had two jobs, not the same job, but two jobs in 50 years. One was in music, and one has been in television. And I never had a resume for either one of them. I've never had a job interview for either one of them. So I'm like an anomaly. You know, my job interview for when we signed on. I'll back it up a little bit. I went to electronics school, and it was called Commercial Electronics Institute. It was run by, owned by Julian Sinclair Smith. That's where Sinclair came from, for what's now Sinclair Broadcast Group. That owns Fox 45 and CW here in Baltimore. I went to school to be an electronics engineer. And when they got the permission and the license to build a WBFF TV, Fox, before Fox, there was no Fox back then.
Right, yeah.
WBFF TV. Fox came a lot later. The Fox network didn't exist. But WBFF TV, and it built BFF TV, and then we signed on with a kid show called Captain Chesapeake. And I was asked if I'd want to produce and help produce and direct the show. George was the executive producer, George Lewis, who was Captain Chesapeake. He had tons of TV experience already. And he took me and some of the other people under his wing to help to tell us kind of how we do this process. And then he let us be creative. He just said, just have fun. Because just like in music, both of these things have been such a parallel for me, because like in television, if we're having fun producing something, it comes across in the product. If we're having fun performing on stage, it comes across in the music. So, it starts with, being creative, having fun, and trying to create something that you like and that you can enjoy, and then hopefully the world will enjoy it along with you. So when we launched the television station, I produced and directed the Captain Chesapeake show, and we were making it up as we went along. There were no rule books. There were no, this is how you do it. We create these things, and we go, and then he'd say, well, how about if we do this? And we go, man, I don't know how to do that. And then one of the phrases that someone taught me later was visualize and utilize. Visualize what you want to do, and then utilize whatever you can find to make it happen.
Right.
It may not have been the right tool. You may not have a hammer, but you got a shoe. You can still hit that nail. It may take a little longer, but the end result is still the same. So, but yeah, that show was such a big part of my life, and it allowed me to be creative, and also to watch a master showman who was George Lewis, who was performing as Captain Chesapeake, watch him work. Not just watch him work on television, but watch him work when we went on personal appearances.
Yeah.
As we were talking about earlier, how people want to talk to the people because they know you. When they see you on TV, they know you on TV. So the kids would come up, the families would come up, and George Lewis for 2 hours would just be the most pleasant person and answer the same question sometimes 50 times by 50 different people. But he would do it with a smile. He would do it with grace. And he would always end his shows with something that I've always kept with me. And one of his lines was, be somebody important, be yourself.
Yep.
And I took that with me. And to this day, I go, I'm going to be me, because the world needs me. The world doesn't need someone for me to act like somebody else. The world needs me to be what I am. And then the world will let me know if they like me or not. If they don't, they all change me, or it is what it is. It's just like musicians. When we make music, we don't write songs for people. We write them for ourselves. And hopefully somebody likes it.
Yeah.
So, but the television side and the music side have been a parallel career for me. And I'm telling you, as far as, like when I'm in a professional music setting and I have to MC something, the TV side of me is in there too. How do you ad lib? How do you get out of something? If Uncle Lou has one too many and wants to come up and sing my way, how do you gracefully get him off the stage without having some controversy?
Right.
And how do you gracefully do that? How do you manage that situation? So the entertainer part of what I do has come from a lot of it, and the MC part has come from television. So it's really been a great mix for me, both of my parallel careers.
Yeah. It was really neat just kind of looking back, because I have, friends of mine, I actually have old VHS tapes and stuff at home from, things that I've taped off of Channel 45, and just looking through those and seeing, how you had Ernie Boston and Bill Lefevre doing the news.
Yeah. All friends of mine.
Yeah. What were those guys like?
They were all unique to themselves. I mean, Ernie was was a newsman that had very little resources back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in the day, all they had was, you know, an Associated Press machine. They'd call it the wire,
Mm-hmm.
and it would print out the news, and you ripped it off and you read it, and that's what the news was. You know,
Yep.
but when we started back then, because we didn't have a news department, we
Sure,
weren't going out
sure.
gathering the news. We were just
Mhm.
telling you what somebody was giving us and giving it, feeding it
Mhm.
back to you. Bill of Fever, another great MC, another great host. I learned so much from him in regards to how he conducted himself and how he interacted with people
Mhm.
and read copy, all of that kinds of stuff. You know, I just watched these pros work. He was on the radio too.
Yeah.
Bill of Fever was on the radio.
Mhm.
So and you can learn a lot about your voice when you're on radio because that's all you got. You know.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, all those people back in the day were big influences on myself and some of the other people who have been with the company
Mhm.
as long as I have. So,
The some of the other things I used to absolutely love from that station were the commercials. Locally done, you know, on a shoestring. I'm sure a lot of them.
I did a lot of them, believe it or not.
Really,
Oh yeah,
really.
back in the day, we again, you have to imagine, we're a small local, the first independent television station in Baltimore.
Yeah, yeah. I'm seeing like kind of like the Weird Al Yankovic movie. I mean, did any of that hit home with you?
We didn't know what we were doing. We were
Right.
just
Okay.
doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were competing with people that had been in the business a lot longer than we have. You know, the ABC Channel 2, Channel
Yeah.
13, Channel
Mhm.
11. You know, we could hear them laughing at us up the hill, you know,
Mhm.
because they had all the equipment, they had all the personnel, they had a system in place, and we were just trying to make it up as we were going along.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, so a lot of the commercials that we did were on a shoestring, and
Mhm.
some of them, you know, whether it was Royal Parker, you know, hey kids, get off that furniture, you trying to ruin it, you know, those you know, those kind of things back in the day, and some of the other, you know, spots that, you know, Mr. Ray and his hair weaves.
Yes, yes. What do you know about that?
What we used to do commercials with Mr. Ray.
Did you do
And
those
Mr. Ray
commercials?
he was another example of, you know, be somebody special, be yourself.
Yes, yes, he was.
He was unique. He
Mm-hmm.
was unique, and he would come on in his voice, and you didn't know whether you liked him or not, if he was kidding you or if
Mhm.
it was real. But for some reason, you just kind of put up with the guy,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mhm.
And he tried to sell you a hair weave, and he sold a lot of hair weaves.
Oh,
with
yes,
his
he
company
did.
back in the day. And
Yes,
with his
he
unique
did.
personality, his voice, his dress, his style, you
Mm-hmm.
know, he did something that some people don't know how to do, and that's stand out,
Mm-hmm.
be
Mm-hmm.
unique. How are you different from anybody else that's doing the same thing that you're doing?
Right,
And
right.
that's what can make you more successful than them, because everybody's doing the same thing. Same with
Mhm.
music. We're all doing the same thing.
Right.
We're playing songs to people and entertaining them in one way or another. Okay, so what makes your entertainment different or stronger
Mhm.
than someone else?
Yep.
You know, it's how you do it.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The for some those commercials worked, Mr. Ray especially. Now, what exactly was your role? Were you producing that? Were you directing the
well,
commercials or?
here's the thing. Back then, we did everything, including taking out the trash,
Okay, okay.
because we were
Wow.
small. We were a small staff of people.
Oh,
We
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
have. We didn't have. Again, you know, there wasn't like roles that you were assigned to. I mean,
Mhm.
I'd come in and I'd produce the. It was all live. The Captain Chesapeake show was live every day,
Yeah,
except when we
yeah.
had to tape it for other reasons.
Mhm.
So we had to think about what we were going to do, and then in between the segments, we'd plan what we're doing next.
Mhm.
You know, and then but while that was going on, I was still loading commercials,
Mhm.
running commercials, and doing all the other stuff that needed to get done. And when the show was over, and then we'd make commercials
Right, right, right.
because we needed the commercials to make money so we could keep the television station on the air.
Mhm. Sure, sure,
And the
sure.
clients would come to us and go, hey, well, you know, I want to be in these shows, but I don't
Mhm.
have a commercial. Okay, well, we'll write one for you. You know, and depending on, you know, on the comfort level of the client would determine how crazy we could get.
Yeah,
We can get
yeah,
as
yeah.
wacky as we want to get,
Mhm.
But sometimes people don't want to be that way. If you're an attorney, you don't want to be. You want to be more buttoned up kind of thing.
Mhm.
So and then, but that was the lifeblood of the television station, was producing local commercials for local clients.
Right, right. So I guess you may have had people coming to you with ones that were already made and just wanted to air them, but then there were other ones that came to you from square one,
Yeah,
and
because
they
there were
wanted.
people that were already on TV.
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
advertising on Channel 211. Because again, there was no cable TV back then.
Right, right.
was
There
just
wasn't. There wasn't.
3 perfectly good television stations.
Mhm. And
Why
then
would you ever need more?
exactly. Hey, why? Yeah, exactly. Now, I think another one I remember back then was Best TV.
Oh yeah,
Best TV.
BEST.
Yes, BEST. And then did you do there was another one, Every Man's Son. It was a
Oh
clothing
yeah, we did that.
store.
That was at Mondawmin Mall.
Yeah, yeah. Check it out. Check Every Man's Son. Yeah, I remember that one.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And then Best TV. That one, the guy, I remember somebody who was he like kind of pounding on the top of a television, BEST.
Oh, you know what? And we did Luskins, the cheapest guy in town.
Yes, Luskins, of course.
Jack Luskin, the cheapest guy in town.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, yeah.
Jack was a good friend back in the day, and when he had all those locations, and he'd come in and we'd record these commercials, and sometimes we'd make him. We had technology that we discovered. Like right now I'm in front of a green screen with a picture behind me, but early in the early days we didn't have that technology. We didn't have green screen or chroma key or whatever you want to call it these days. It was what it was,
Right.
But when the technology started to change and different, and we could adopt it, and then we could do things like make Jack a little guy standing on top of a TV, talking and stuff like that there.
Yeah.
So we use the technology to grow and continue to entertain people with the television commercials.
Right. Well, then how did you film? Was that green screen with Modi, the sea monster?
Yeah.
That was green screen.
It wasn't technically green screen. It was blue back in the day.
Oh, blue. Okay.
Everybody liked
right.
blue back then because it was a little bit. It was kind of based on that blue parameters. But then eventually it became green, and people adopted green more, because I think that what happened was that people had allowed, especially females, to use the blue color.
Oh.
Blue on TV. And blue is a big part, of a wardrobe. But so that and we went out to Back River and Middle River, and and shot the water, and it was a loop.
Yep, it was a loop. It was a loop.
Back, you look at it now.
It was you had Modi swimming next to Bethlehem Steel, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And we made the boat move by rocking the camera up and down like this.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Outstanding.
This is outstanding. I love it. I love it. You could take it, and I did notice that. It would kind of do that, and then
the boat would go back. We did the camera person bouncing the camera up and down.
And then sometimes
Monday sitting on paint cans.
Yeah, I was waiting. Swimming around Bethlehem Steel, I was kind of waiting for Moni to pop out of the water with like lesions and bones showing or something like that. But another thing you did too, is like sometimes you would have him out on the deck of the boat, but then you'd also have him like inside the cabin of the boat, and you'd have like this, you'd show the scenery, then it would like zoom out, and you go like zoom in through the window, and there he is.
Oh yeah.
And those are the ones where he had like Andy with him, usually like the lion.
Andrew Claus the lion.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had several. I was one of the voices of Bruce the Bird.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. Bruce the Bird.
I have the original Bruce the Bird cage in my house. I'm not telling you where it is. It's locked under lock and key.
Oh, okay. Okay. No kidding. That's great. That was incredible. Now, did you do anything with Ghost Host?
Oh yeah. Well, I did Ghost Host too. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
This is your Ghost Host. You know how he did that? I don't have one up here, but if I had one, wait a minute, I'll be right back.
Okay, sure.
I'm not going far.
Okay. Fine. Take your time, Dwight.
Because back then you didn't have the technology, to do some of the things that you do now with voice. So how he would make the sound is that he would talk into a trash can like this. And he would say, "This is your ghost home?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's how we did it. There was no processing gear. There was
Mm-hmm.
nothing that allowed you to reshape the voice. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
again, being creative and coming up with ways to do that. And the Ghost Host set was actually, it wasn't green screen. It was a physical painting,
Oh,
painted
okay.
wall
Mm-hmm.
that we put them in. And what we did, because we didn't want to reshoot the show every week because we didn't have time.
Right, right.
So we would light it in a way that you couldn't, and he would wear a very thick hair pieces around his
Mm-hmm.
like and beard, heavy hair around his face.
Mm-hmm.
And we would shoot him from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
And all he would do is he would mime.
Oh, okay.
Then we would record the voiceover, and then we match it up close enough that you never know that he wasn't actually talking in the segments that we were showing you.
Wow.
That's how we had to be creative, because we didn't have time to reshoot it, because it took a while to set that setup, because we had the wall in the background with the painted cemetery, then we had the front pieces, and we had to light it, and all that kind of crazy stuff. So we shot it that way, and that's how we produced it. We were able to produce it weekly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, God, this is amazing. I loved that station so much growing up. I mean, I watched it all the time.
I lived in it growing up.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just amazing. I'm getting all these things I've always wondered about, and you're reminding me of things that I've wondered about over the years. I was actually trying to get a hold of Jimmy, and then I found out that it was I had just reached out, and then of course we got the sad news. And I mean, his voice was another one, like Mr. Ray, that was very Baltimore and very legendary. Did you have is there anything about Traffic Jam Jimmy? I think Urine was his last name.
Ern is the way it was pronounced. Jimmy
Okay.
Ern. Yeah.
Yep.
Jimmy and I went to the same electronics school together.
Okay.
He was several years behind me, but he found his path and my path were the same in moving through from the electronics school into working at the television station and helping to build a TV station. He helped to build a TV station in Baltimore. He built a TV station in Pittsburgh and Columbus. So he was a heavy television technician guy. And then as we all changed roles all the time within the company, he wasn't the first Monday the Sea Monster, but he was the most memorable Monday the Sea Monster. We had several people do it, because the way that Monday worked is that the costume wasn't like a animatronic or a puppet. The mouth didn't move.
Right,
So
right, yeah.
The person who wore the costume, sometimes it's the same person, had to, play off of the words, because they didn't know, what the person was going to say necessarily. It was all ad-libbed and live. There was no script. It was all just ad-libbed and live. And Jimmy had such a rapport with George Lewis, Captain Chesapeake, that they were like, Laura and Hardy. They were like in lockstep. He could say one thing, he could say something else, and they just had this incredible sense of comedic timing, that allowed him to do that. And then when the show went off the air, and Jimmy changed his voice. Everyone had to create a voice. Like when I was Brewster Bird, I didn't talk like me. I had a different persona that I put on for Brewster Bird. Jimmy, when he did Monday the Sea Monster, he created that voice, that Monday the Sea Monster voice, which became so recognizable to everyone and all the people that grew up watching the show. And then when the show was over, again, we had to reinvent ourselves and do other things. And then Jimmy went on to do a lot of television commercials and things like that behind the scenes as a production person. And then this opportunity came up we got this fancy little news car, which has cameras in it and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's a combination of driving, which Jimmy loved anyway, and technology. He's an engineer. And directing. Well, he's a director. He's a camera operator. He understands everything about it. And by the way, he was also on television as a character. So it was such a good fit for him at the time, to take on that role. And then as he would do, he made it his own. And he created Traffic Jam Jimmy.
Yeah.
He created that persona, Traffic Jam Jimmy. And again, he would, I'm sure he would say that, George Lewis, I learned so much from George Lewis as Captain Chesapeake, and watching him do what he does, that I took that with me, and it helped me to create this persona of Traffic Jam Jimmy. And again, he could interview people. He could drive a car, switch camera shots, set up audio and microphones, sing with people while he's driving, all at one time. So, and it's only because of his background that allowed him to use all of his talents to make that work. Great guy. We missed him terribly.
My cousin actually got to ride in the car with him not long before, he unfortunately passed. And just told me he was just a wonderful guy. He got I think it was his 75th birthday, and he got to go out and ride with Jimmy for that. While he was out doing his rounds and his traffic reporting and everything. And just told me he was just a heck of a guy. I wish I could have had a chance to talk to him on here, but
one of the nicest guys you want to meet. He's one of those kind of people that you never know. I would tell the story of, we haven't seen each other in 8 months or 9 months. But when you get back together, you pick up that same conversation you ended 9 months ago. And we shared so many things together that we knew the famous lines to laugh at, and this, that, and the other, because we worked on the Captain Chesapeake show together. We did commercials together. We did all of these things together, until he shifted over into the Traffic Jam News, Traffic Jam Jimmy News role. But yeah, and everyone that there wasn't anyone that he met. Well, if they didn't like him, then it was their own fault.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. I love this kind of history, from our area here.
It's rich.
It is. It's rich, and part of what I wanted to do, I realized this. And the purpose for me even starting this show was to, have some sort of documentation of this history for those that were willing to share it.
Right.
And, to keep these things alive and to have them able to be passed on, so other people know about it. There's a lot to be proud of around here with the musicians and the bands and the talent, I do from time to time, get folks from Hollywood and Broadway. But the main core of my show is Maryland, Baltimore, DC, the Mid-Atlantic region, and then I get others from outside too and everything. And I just love hearing what was going on behind the scenes of things that I liked growing up. I've just, it was a great place to grow up. And there was just so many fond memories of 45. I did have Dick Dizell on as well.
Okay.
A couple of months ago, and a lot of what he told me about WDCA were things that you're telling me here. He was running that show down there, and I tell you, he's another mensch, just a wonderful guy to talk to. Very, very nice, and very willing to be forthcoming with his stories and everything, and to share. And I appreciate you being willing to do so, Dwight. It was just, it's been a pleasure.
It's an honor to be asked. I'm glad that we could make the time work, and ahead of time to to chat a little bit and reminisce about some of the things that we've both shared together, because the things that we were doing in the control room, were, to us, we were only doing it for ourselves because we couldn't see anybody.
Right.
So we were making ourselves laugh. We were laughing at the jokes we were doing. We were laughing at the funny things, skits that we were doing.
Yeah.
And then over time we realized that, what? A lot of people are liking what we're doing. We're getting this feedback. People are sending us, George Lewis used to get, because back in the day, there's no email. He would get letters, handwritten letters from kids. And when they brought the mail in every day, it was like Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah.
it would be these big bags of mail,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd dump them out, and he would try to read every last one of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And the people used to send us pictures.
Yeah, I did.
We used to pan
I
across
drew.
the pictures of the
Yep.
kids. That was
Mm-hmm.
a big part of the show. And so they send us the pictures when they when they went to the next class or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
they send all these pictures, and they'd ask for crew member cards. And then we had to mail them back a crew member card,
Mm-hmm.
so they could get their crew member card and get discounts and be a part of be a crew member.
Right.
Boy, crew members.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. So, but if, and to be a part of, I mean, technology moves fast anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but from the 70s to now,
Oh yeah.
I mean, what we're doing today,
Mm-hmm.
who would have thought? I can be in one place, you can be in another, we can talk and record audio and video, and you can send it out to the world, and they can all look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Who knew I'd ever figure out how to do this stuff? Because I do, I mean, I'm doing it, and I'm still, as you can see, if you've looked at my past episodes, especially the ones on YouTube, I'm learning as I go, and I'm trying to make each episode a little bit better,
That you know what, that's a life, baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You learn as you go, and I have the audio version. I think I've got you're my 18th or 19th video episode I have up. Looking back, audio, I think I'm right around 275 episodes altogether.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time. That people don't understand how much time that is that you're investing in this. So
Mm-hmm.
you must love it.
I do. I really do. I love that. I love performing. I have a murder mystery troupe, which I perform wherever they'll have us. I have regular customers, and on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad train, we're performing out there. Yeah, twice a month. Maryland Party Boat. I've done some of the other boats that are in the area. We do with that. The Fowl Players of Perryville. Then we also have. I have a manager. I sent you my stuff, my IMDb page. I've done movies and TV and as well. Yeah. And speaking of cult commercials, I was the J.G. Wentworth Viking in that commercial. Funny. Yeah. They've actually kind of moved on from that commercial, and J.G. Wentworth has another commercial out now. But for about 3 years, I was at a bull roast, and a couple of guys came over and recognized me. They're like, "You're that guy," and I was like, "What did I do? I'm sorry." And then they're like, "No, you're the Viking. You're the J.G. Wentworth Viking." And another time, with my murder mystery group, we were doing Polar Express on the Western Maryland train, and I was in costume as the hobo. And I came over to a table, and I was doing my shtick for this family, and then the husband looked at me and he goes, "You're the J.G. Wentworth Viking." And I'm like, "Yeah, how did you tell without my horns on, and I've got soot all over my face playing the hobo, and you still recognize?" Well, thank you. Yeah. That would be me.
Well, you know what? Passion is the fuel.
Yeah. Yep. It sure is. It sure is. Well, Dwight, again, this is much appreciated. I'm really glad that you chose to spend some time with us tonight. I tell you what, maybe could you give us the Gazze website?
Oh yeah, sure. You can go to. I'll move out of the way.
Okay.
The Fun Band. If you go to thefunband.com, that's one way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
THEFUNBAND.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could go to gazze.com, GAZZE.com. And it's so funny because we had to pick a name. I'll tell you this quick story before we sign off.
Yeah, please.
And we didn't, we were just eight guys. We were just 8 guys. It was like a men's support group when we started. and we rehearsed all the time. And then we finally got our first gig. Miss Teresa Tice, rest her soul, at the Hutt Teen Center down in Patapsco High School. Gave us our first chance at performing. But we needed a name, and we didn't have a name. We didn't know what to call ourselves. So they said, "Okay, everybody write something down on a piece of paper, and we're going to drop it in this hat, and we're going to pick a name out." So, and we were drinking something called Purple Jesus. For the life of me, I can't remember what was in it, and I don't think I want to know. But
I've had those drinks. Yes.
yeah. So it's like, whoa, what was this? So anyway, so I think Bob pulled it out of the hat, and he said, Gazze, and everybody started laughing because the person who wrote it, they pronounced it jazz, but they spelled it Gazze. And he pronounced it Gazze, and we all started laughing. We didn't know what he's doing. We said, okay, that's it. Nobody cared. We didn't care. We didn't spend a whole bunch of time trying to come up with something, you know, because a lot of times you want something that people can easily remember or rolls off your tongue or this, that, and the other. We didn't care. We just wanted to play. And that's our name. That's it. That's it. We don't care. Put it out there, and that's the way that it is. And it's so funny because it's in some ways it's kind of helped us, because now with Google and all these search engines, if you know our name, not too many other things are going to pop up when you put in Gazze.
You're right. But the thing is too, if you're somewhere where they don't know you, you still have to. I would still make sure you pronounce it, because you know, some of the bands I've been in have been horribly mispronounced. I mean, I can see maybe, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gazze. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We've gotten that. Gazze. You know.
Somebody called you Gazze.
You know what? It's like my mother used to, just don't call me late for dinner. You know,
right.
I'm happy to be here. You know.
Oh, that's funny. Somebody called you Gazze. You should have had some gauze backs and wrapped it around your head or something.
Wrapped them up in it. Yeah.
That's funny. Well, Dwight, thank you so much, bud.
Thank you, Mike.
This has just been I've enjoyed this interview, and I appreciate your willingness to share your stories and you know, talk about the things that you've done in the past. And I'm sure everybody, you know, I'm going to get some great feedback on this one too. So folks, we've been talking to Dwight Weems here on Fowl Players Radio, and we will see you next time. Make sure you know, thefunband.com, Gazze, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody. Thanks, Michael.
And folks, thank you for listening tonight. We hope you enjoyed our interview with Dwight Weems. He's a good old Dundalk boy, and I really had a great time talking to him and you know, hearing his stories and his memories. And I hope you did too. We're going to be taking a short break here at Fowl Players Radio, and we will be returning in mid-September. We've got a lot of great guests lined up, both on the national entertainment level, local, and also regional. So I think you're really going to enjoy what we have coming up here. We've kind of expanded into the sports world, and we're going to have a little bit more of that coming up as well. So make sure you stick around, www.fowlplayersradio.com. And also, very important, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button and like our podcasts. Give them a listen. Hey, it's a great listen, something great to listen to while you're taking your road trips in the car, you know, or doing anything, just sitting around the house. We aim to please, and we hope you're enjoying what you're hearing so far. www.fowlplayersradio.com. We will see you next time. Take care.